Sisters, girls or women who share a common ancestry, allegiance, character, or purpose with another or others. Fellow Black women or girls.
Peace and blessings, Sister Charlene Muhammad. I feel like I'm real close, really close. My screen is sticking me real close, but welcome to Liberated Sisters. Tonight's show is in remembrance and honor of our sister, Minister Dr. Ava Muhammad, a star of God. Our guest tonight will be Sister Dr. Christina Parks, Ph.D. in Cellular and Molecular Biology. And we will have, of course, greatly to have her, our sister attorney, Pamela Muhammad, who is our legal contributor. I usually go right into the Liberated Sisters Justice Report coming out of the Final Call newspaper headlines. However, I want to present the segment that I chose in honor of remembrance of Minister Ava, and then we'll go to the Justice Report right to attorney Pamela Muhammad, sister attorney. And so just a little bit about Sister Ava Minister Ava, pardon me, before I play a clip of her speaking in San Diego. I've been wanting to do this, because it's just the work that she has done in the mission of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and as the national spokesperson for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam. It just is beyond belief. So Minister Dr. Ava Muhammad, the official national spokesperson for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam, as well as a member of the Nation of Islam's Executive Council, the Shura Council, departed this life on Thursday, August 25th, 2022. And there's lots of information about her in the Final Call newspaper, and I'll continue. She lived as a gifted attorney, spiritual advisor, and author of the powerful and popular book, Real Love. Minister Ava received her Juris Doctorate from Georgetown University and was a member of the New York Bar. She has also been featured in Essence Magazine, which named her one of America's most powerful Black women. You all really must see that issue. It features Mother Khadijah Farrakhan, Mother Tainetta Muhammad, other women, sister, former student national captain Charlene Muhammad. Oh, it was a beautiful cover. I digress. The focus of Minister Ava's work, self-empowerment and community development. Much of it is highlighted on her Twitter and Instagram pages at Dr. Ava Muhammad, or can be found under the hashtag Ask Dr. Ava. We, along with many of you, extend our love. We continue to extend our love, support, and prayers to her husband, my big brother, Darius Muhammad, her daughters, Sister Sasha and Sister Sherelle, grandchildren, Amir and Amira, and her entire family. You may visit finalcall.com or media.noi.org again for more information on her janaza funeral service, which was held on September 3rd, 2022 at Mosque Mariam. That is the Chicago-based national headquarters of the Nation of Islam. Must visit, put it on your bucket list or your to-do list. And for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's beautiful, poignant words at her janaza. So in light of it being, yes, still our Savior's Day season, and we're in Ramadan Mubarak, our blessed Ramadan. This is a month of fasting, among other things, prayer, spiritual connection, acts of kindness, getting closer to Allah God. I selected this clip for her again. It spoke to me. Minister Ava was speaking here at Muhammad Mosque number 8 in San Diego. That was on November 10, 2019. I was there. I was right there in the audience, the sanctuary, to receive the message. And so right after that, we'll get to the justice report and analysis by Sister Attorney Pamela Muhammad. And then we'll have our guest, Sister Dr. Christina Parks. And before we close out the show today, we're going to have a call to action. So let me screen share and spread the word. Thanks for tuning in. Should have some music. Okay. Okay. It says I'm sharing. Hold on. Oh, there it is. Okay. Now. I must press play.
In the most holy name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful,
Okay.
we give praise and thanks to Allah God for his mercy upon humanity. His highest attribute is mercy. And we thank him because always when we go astray, he leads us back to the path to his grace and mercy by raising up in our midst prophets and messengers who give us his guidance in real time. And he always raises up from the people he is guiding one of their own kind. The Holy Quran and the Bible name prophets and messengers. And the Holy Quran tells us that we don't know the names of all of them.
Right.
And in this last 6,000 year cycle of history, where humanity has been at its lowest because the dark is always deepest before the light, we have to acknowledge and honor some prophets and messengers who had such a profound impact on humanity that their names are mentioned over and over in scripture, in Bible and Quran. We thank Allah for Moses, Musa, with the Torah.
Yes, ma'am.
We thank Allah for Jesus and the gospel, the New Testament, the revelation of the love that God has for humanity. We thank Allah for Muhammad ibn Abdullah, who received the revelation that we know as the Holy Quran more than 1,400 years ago, the book that would lead us out of the darkness of this world and prepare us for the next. I personally, beloved, as a Black woman in America, a descendant of enslaved and kidnapped Africans,
Come on. Mm-hmm.
a descendant of people who suffered from lynching, Jim Crow, discrimination, murder, up to this very moment.
Make it plain.
But somehow we survived, and I thank Allah that we were able to survive. And I thank Him for making Himself known to us through the wisdom and guidance of one that if you do not know, you will come to know. The Mahdi, Master Ph.D. Muhammad, a man who came here alone when no one else would help us.
Come on.
He came here alone from Mecca, Saudi Arabia, and made himself known July 4th, 1930. I thank Allah for him, and I thank Allah that he met a grandson of slaves in the city of Detroit, Michigan. One who had come from the deep south in that ocean of black people, 6 million black people between 1915 and 1970, who escaped the domestic terrorism of the deep south and went to the north seeking life and a better life. They did not find much, but I thank Allah that Master Ph.D. Muhammad found Elijah Poole,
That's right.
who had come up in that ocean of black people with his father and brothers seeking work. He became, after 3.5 years with Master Ph.D. Muhammad, a man vested with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, such as has not been known in this 6,000-year cycle, and certainly not among black people in America.
That's right. Teach your life.
Elijah Muhammad. We know him as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Indeed, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. We believe him to be the promised Messiah and predicted Christ of this Bible and Quran.
Right.
And we thank Allah for him on this day. Now, I personally never met or knew Master Ph.D. Muhammad or the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but I thank Allah that as a young attorney in New York City in the early 1980s, diagnosed with cancer, I saw a poster in a subway station that said, "Truth crushed to the earth will rise again."
Amen.
My law degree couldn't help me. My admission to the New York bar couldn't help me. The money that I was bringing in couldn't help me. Because the disease that had killed my beloved father was now after me. I went out and heard that man. And that man, who you know and is your friend, and has sacrificed himself and his family for our freedom. You know him well, but you don't know him well enough, beloved. And really, neither do I. I am talking about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And in those names, beloved, and thanking you for being here this morning, I greet you in the words of peace of Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, ma'am.
Okay, so let me stop the tape. I have so many speakers. There it is. Okay, that's Minister Ava. And again, in remembrance and honor of her, it was great to be there when she delivered that live. I bring it up also because as we get ready to bring in Sister Attorney Pamela for the Justice Report, this is how I met our guest tonight, our special guest, Sister Dr. Christina Parks, Ph.D. in Cellular and Molecular Biology. I was referred, I was assigned an article by Minister Ava when we were writing about the depopulation agenda for COVID-19, the U.S. government's depopulation agenda in the Final Call newspaper at finalcall.com. And so I received a text from Minister Ava about her. And I'll just get more into that when we get ready to bring in Dr. Christina. But for right now, if we may, I will bring in Attorney Pamela Muhammad. and we'll be discussing the final call newspaper. Attorney Pamela, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam and Ramadan Mubarak.
Ramadan Kareem, Sister Charlene. And thank you once again for inviting me to the Liberated Sisters. I just love it. And I am so excited after hearing our beloved sister, Dr. Ava Muhammad. That was such a beautiful clip and from such a beautiful sister. And your idea to lift her up and to lift her words up is so very important. So I just want to thank you so much for that. I looked for something. I wanted to mention also a quote from Sister Minister Ava Muhammad. And for right now, because I got a couple, Sister Tiffany sent me one, and I'll read that later. But this one is the quote: "There is no purpose in studying anything if it cannot help us cope with our immediate reality." And, that's something for me that reminds me of the essence of Sister Ava and her show, The Elevated Places, because she was so intelligent and so smart and so articulate. But the topics that she brought to us, along with bringing us the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the words of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, she would bring us topics that would help us, studies, so they could help us cope with our immediate reality, not just pontificating. So always want to remember that about Sister Dr. Ava. And in what she brought up tonight, one of the points that I always remembered her is talking about the suffering and the lynching of our people. We come from a people who suffered just heinous crimes. And like she said, up to this very moment, we oftentimes in the criminal justice system, we see this behavior repeating itself. So Sister Charlene, your article from the March 24th final call is really an important article as you raise up the gladiator fights in the Los Angeles Youth Detention Facility. Now this, the article is entitled "Outrage and Arrest Over These Gladiator Fights in the Los Angeles Youth Detention Facility." And I think it's just such an awesome article. I wanted, hats off to you, because it was beautifully written, because this topic of Black youth is very important. And the reason why I go right to saying Black youth and brown youth, because in these detention facilities around the country, many times, and this is a quote I got from the Youth Justice by Numbers report, it's a policy brief, but it talks about how Black youth placement is about 228 per 100,000 people, which is 4.7 times higher than white youth, versus white youth placement, and this was in the year 2021, is 49 versus 100,000, so 49 per 100,000 for white youth and 228 per 100,000 for Black youth, 4.7 times higher Black youth in these detention facilities. And so we know that when we're looking at these gladiator fights and this type of child abuse and this type of criminal behavior where these adults who have they actually have authority over these youth are actually using and abusing and ruining these youth's lives. These many times are Black youth. So to raise up some of what you said, so 30 officers were indicted on charges of child abuse and endangerment, abuse, conspiracy, and battery. And this occurred at the Los Padrinos Juvenile Hall. And this facility, as you write, is located about 15 miles south of Los Angeles. Now, these 30 officers who were indicted on charges, this impacted victims, 14 victims, and these victims were between the ages of 12 and 18. And what we're seeing from this grand jury indictment is that these officers actually allowed and encouraged these youth to fight. 69 fights, so your article says, between July 1, 23 to December 2023. And this was fights that were taxpayer sponsored, because our tax dollars are used in these different facilities. Our tax dollars pay for these officers. And this is what they're doing to our children who are in crisis, actually causing them to have more crisis death by encouraging them to do gladiator fights. Even the Attorney General, as you state in your article, the Attorney General brings out the point that this indictment, it includes special allegations because you're looking at the vulnerability of the victims and the officers who are in a position of trust and confidence. So that's what helps these officers and enables them to commit the offense, because they're over the young people. Even one of the attorneys, and I'm kind of going off, but I read an article in the Los Angeles Times, and there was a attorney by the name of, I think, Gunsberg. And his quote, Attorney Gunsberg's quote, was that, these families, they're in crisis. And so to expect them to step up and speak out against the people who have power over them, that's not realistic. And so, and he even talked about how these fights in this Los Angeles Times article, that the fights have been going on for at least 15 years. And we know probably more than that. You know what I'm saying, Sister Charlene? Because my initial thought was, as a young lawyer, oftentimes you get calls from jail houses, from prisons, and people will tell you some of the most horrific stories about abuses against them. But, and this was back in the 90s when I was a young lawyer, and it was just unbelievable to me, and you talk to other lawyers like, what can we do? What can we do? But the point is that just like this particular incident, the cover up and the fact that the authorities would sweep it under the bush, makes the inmates really helpless. And so I just kind of wanted to raise some of the allegations that you talk about in your article. You say that, they were told, new officers were told not to say anything. Officers told the youth to refuse treatment from medical. Now, this is after you got beat up and you're really being victimized. Somebody is committing a crime against you in a penal institution, but you're told to hide it. Don't step in or intervene is what some of the officers were told. And so what it really amounts to is a failure to protect our children, as you state in your article. It's a lack of accountability. One child they mentioned had traumatic brain injury. So these gladiator fights, as one of the women that you actually quote, she talks about how it descends from plantations, where the police and the slave patrol. And one of the things I thought about is how the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us about the social engineering process. Because when you have this type of ruthless behavior and this type of beat down hazing, how does that impact the mindset of the youth that are supposedly in need of rehabilitation? You're really just turning people into more hardened, more wicked behavior. And this is what this enemy is doing to our people. So I applaud you for this article, because it really should be mainstream. It should be on every nightly news headline of what type of child abuse is going on against mainly Black and brown children. So I just kind of wanted to use that to segue in. I know your guest is going to talk about reproductive health issues, and being a Black woman, the fact that our children, our seed, our future are being just totally targeted and broken down, and then made to look as if they're the ones who are wrong. They're the ones, the victims being victimized. This is outrageous behavior, and I thank you so much for raising this in your article. Thank
All
you.
praises due to Allah God. We say all praises
All
due to
praise
Allah
you
God.
to
First of all, for being honored and privileged to be able to be a servant writer for the Final Call newspaper, student national correspondent. You know, these stories are hard. They come to us, the sources, by very many different means. And so I want to just say that thank God for the opportunity that I have, you know, to be able to help uncover these atrocities. You know, it's one of the questions I had as we get ready to go into the segment with Dr. Parks is, and I also want to highlight it, you know, minimally the cover story, at least for the Final Call, but because it's on our brother Rasu. But I asked the question, you know, well, many are sent there for fighting in the first place. So how mind-boggling is that? You know, and then you get there and that's what you're having to do. So yeah, that's but one story. There are many people that I was told would have spoken to me that are within the probation department and others in law enforcement, but it's so tricky and sticky. You know, they just, you know, decided we better, you know, probably not do that even off the record. You know, so as we see in the county, there are reports now, more in terms of questions and handling about deputy gangs within the sheriff department, right? So those in law enforcement who want to speak out, you know, hopefully one day they'll be able to do that. So thank you for the segment, Sister Pamela. And I will, before we get ready, I just want to see if I can highlight the cover for this week's Final Call newspaper, which is, hmm, let's see, Brother Rasul, our brother Rasul Hakeem Muhammad. So bear with me and thank you all, of course, as I like to say, I'm on the ones and twos. So here, and this light is really giving me the business. Here we go. Is this it? Yes. Okay. How's that looking? Nope, not yet. There he is. Our brother Rasul Muhammad, his janaza was on March 21st. Is it saying there, you know, which incident? I think it was on the 21st. Yes. It was beautiful. You know, I encourage us to read this article, share it, learn more about him, father, brother, husband, uh, musician, scholar, many things. His janaza was just really beautiful. Remembering Rasul, family, friends, salute son of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad during janaza service. This is by our contributing editor, Brother James G. Muhammad. And there it is, a man, a Muslim, a brother, and friend. His brother, student national assistant to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Brother Ishmael Muhammad, his brother, who is our student minister of information for the Nation of Islam, Brother Ahmed Muhammad, and his daughter. Oh my God, she spoke. I don't want to get her name incorrect because I just kept staring at her. But it's right here. Forgive me, family, right here in this cover story. It was just a very beautiful service. I don't want to do that. I want to go and stay right here. So just the image. Brother Rasul has some books as well as CDs, DVD compilations of his music, and he also has a website which I will put that in the chat where you can get more information about him. So I just want to show the image again, which captured him very, very, very well. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's center article there, The Meaning of Love. So I'll stop sharing that so we can bring in Dr. Parks at the half mark as I promised. And Attorney Pamela, please stay with us if you can. And I also understand you may have to go. So we'll do that as soon as you need to. So let me introduce her. And we'll do it like this. I'll just get to reading. I actually have a clip to play very briefly. When I met Dr. Parks, as I was saying in the beginning, I was referred, I met her through my work with Minister Ava Muhammad. We were writing about the run up to the vaccination shot, as well as all that was happening with COVID, the coronavirus itself, COVID-19. And so, in the words of Minister Ava, I saw this text and I was asking her about something that I was working on, an article about mask wearing and the impact, especially for those with respiratory illnesses and for children. And she sent this text back that said, here is something from a preeminent Black scientist, microbiologist. And I was like, oh my God. And when I read it, I was like, think of this Black woman. And we were just so enthused just about the brilliance, the mind, and the delivery and the passion of Dr. Christina Parks. And so I will play this clip, and afterward, Dr. Parks will be coming on to discuss endocrine disruption and its effects on our reproductive health, as well as she'll be discussing some of her remarks in a Final Call article written by our staff writer, Sister Anissa Muhammad, who is in Atlanta, Georgia, who writes out of Georgia, to talk about more of that. And as well as she may be discussing detoxifying the body. So let me get the clip there to share it. No. Okay. A lot of here, so. Okay. I have it ready. So everyone, and on another screen. Okay. All right. Thanks for your patience.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I love this platform, Sister Charlene.
I can require people to wear their hair short or dress a certain way. Why can't I require them to wear a mask?
1 second.
So if I have a business, I can require people to wear their hair short or dress a certain way. Why can't I require them to wear a mask?
Because mask wearing is a biochemical nightmare. It's a metabolic nightmare that increases your risk for cancer. It increases your cardiovascular risk. It basically makes your body breathe. Your body is it's got too much CO2 in it, which actually helps cancer to grow. It's actually extremely inflammatory. It's going to exacerbate every inflammatory disease, including diabetes and hypertension. It causes hypertension because your body is trying to breathe harder to actually maintain homeostasis, but it can't because it keeps getting too much CO2 and not enough oxygen. And so you are asking somebody to put their health at risk. Some people can medically tolerate this, but many people cannot.
Okay. And so here to join us is Sister Christina Parks, our great doctor. How are you? Oh, wow. So let me see what's happening. Let me unmute you. Okay. You're unmuted.
Yes, that's a great clip. And not a lot of people have seen it. It's kind of one of those tell us what you really think clips. Huh?
Yeah.
It's really fitting that this is in remembrance of Dr. Ava, because, that's why I resonated with her so strongly. She was just so no nonsense and just cut right to the bone, cut right to the issue. And I think that, we only met at that Savior's Day, and it was 2022. So we were right in just the vaccination, just the mess of it all. Yeah. And she was just so straightforward. I felt like we were just fast friends, and we were just like going the same way. And I had was actually about to reach out to her for some pandemic related stuff when I found out she passed. And I was actually devastated because I had just assumed that this was going to be a positive relationship going forward. And I immediately got her books. And so it's interesting that we're doing this right after the passing of Brother Rasul, because, and this goes back in so many layers. We are standing on the shoulders of giants, and Minister Ava, as well, Sister Charlene, because you were with me at her janazah, I credit her with bringing me into the nation, because I was so shocked by her death that I immediately went and bought her books. And I had to get to know this person who was supposed to be my friend, and she passed before that could really manifest. And when I read her books, I so resonated with the beliefs, and I understood the beliefs in a different way. And I was like, this is already what I believe. It was like Allah had just lined up all of the different things. And so the next step was to go to my local mosque, which I did. And the rest is history. But it's not history because, a few months later, we became a mosque again. We were a study group before that. But Brother Rasul is very local out of Detroit. And he trained, Brother Robert Muhammad, I believe Brother Sultan Muhammad, who were our student ministers at my mosque, and so many of the people locally here in Michigan. And so even though I never knew him, and it's the same way I never, physically knew the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he's had the deepest impact on my life, because the people that are closest to me that I love the most, these men, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Brother Rasul Muhammad, Dr. Ava Muhammad, these people created them. The resonance of their soul, the fact that we connect so deeply, is built on the of these spiritual giants.
Thank you. And you're right, that clip was perfect with her speaking about the three. I want to make sure, I want to make sure, Attorney Pamela, you let me know so that I can bring you in when you want to, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
And I think purple is definitely definitely the color today. Walaikum salam, ma'am.
Yeah. Yes. Any words for her, or question or comment before we get into her presentation?
And you know what, Dr. Christina, welcome. It's such an honor to be on the panel with you. And I remember meeting you at that, it was the World Day of Atonement. And you were at the mosque that day as a guest and a visitor. And I remember encountering you as well. And you sat with us, and it was just so beautiful because you were really like seeking Sister Ava. She had us, kind of looking to make sure that we welcomed you and made sure, your time with us was beautiful. And so you're just such a beautiful person as well. And we do really admire your tenacity. So yes, ma'am, this is an honor being on a panel with you.
Thank you. And I was thinking the same thing as when, it's like you meet someone and you don't even know how important they're going to be in your life. And, as we all get to know each other and grow, I feel so humbled by Allah's plan.
Yes, ma'am. Praises be to Him.
That's right. And so as you begin your presentation, Dr. Parks, I have invited someone who is actually in the hair care industry. She is a prominent braider out of, it'll just be like, she has some questions, but so I don't know if she's going to come on through the panel, but she's watching the show because, and you may know her. This is Sister Abisayo. She is out of Benton.
Of course I know her. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Abisayo.
She's fabulous. Yeah, so I think she'll be tuning in. But everyone, get your questions ready for her, your comments. It's rare. Dr. Parks is very active online. She has her website. I didn't even introduce her properly. Lord Jesus, here we go. Oh, I didn't mean to say that. That's taking his name in vain. Forgive me, y'all. Okay, so where's it at? Okay, so yes, Dr. Parks is the founder of the Vaccine Injury Treatment Alliance. And Dr. Parks, you just take it away because I'm discombobulated. I just got to be honest. I thought I was ready. Fine. I thought I was ready for her, but I wasn't.
One of the things I said in the article, I did my undergraduate research in organic chemistry, and where I worked in this glorified broom closet, like cooking up stuff, breathing stuff, and I'd literally be high from all of these volatile organic compounds that I was breathing in. And I knew it. I knew what was happening. But and this gets to the hair care thing. What it was also bringing in was any chemicals that were mixed in these volatile organic compounds were going into my body. And for the hair in the article, it was talking about braiding hair. And one of the things they found were chemicals like toluene and benzene that can be cancer causing. I was breathing those every day. I didn't get cancer because they're actually not that cancer causing at these levels. What they are, though, is endocrine disruptors. And I did end up sterile, unable to bear children with endometriosis. And so I think it's really, really, and so what those chemicals do, the benzene and the toluene, is they actually suck the toxic chemicals out of the plastic, because it's plastic braiding hair. It may not feel like it to you, but it is. And it pulls the chemicals, the very, very toxic endocrine disrupting chemicals, out of the plastic hair and takes it right through your skin, right into your bloodstream, and right to your ovaries, because your ovaries are fatty. So these are going to accumulate in your ovaries, where they are going to disrupt your hormones, where they're going to disrupt your gene expression. They can cause things like fibroids, endometriosis, and they can feminize your male offspring. Yes, let me say it again. What they can do is change the formatting of the DNA of the male child that you may be pregnant with, such that their cells don't respond like male cells should. And remember, the male cells aren't just in the private parts, they're in the brain, they're in every cell of your body. And so they may respond differently to estrogen and differently to testosterone. They may respond more like female cells. And we want to ask why all of these young men are acting like women. Now, obviously, that's not the only reason, but the pain and suffering that all of these conditions, endometriosis, fibroids, and of course, any kind of gender disruption can cause, and infertility is so catastrophic. And of course, with the beliefs of the nation, this is something that needs to be an absolute priority, is recovering our reproductive health.
I'm here. That's a lot. They get you coming, get you going, right?
And everywhere in between. And the thing is, I did a deep dive into a lot of beauty products, and beauty products are predominantly in the U.S. used by people of color, by Black women. Right. 50 to 80% of Black women are using these beauty products, as opposed to only 7% of Caucasian women. And when we look into the beauty products, they're toxic. They're absolutely chock full of these endocrine disruptors, which they mask. They're not properly labeled. They don't say they're in there, but when they test them, they are. The worst are anything scented. So think of your Glade, your plugins, your scented candles, your fragrance that you're putting right on your skin, anything Bed Bath and Beyond. I think they're probably getting better than they were, but anything that you're putting right on your skin. And I found that some hair care products had placenta in them. Like who even knew this? So it's a very unregulated industry, and people assume when something is being sold that there's some basic level of safety that's being met. And it really looks like the industry is using loopholes to get around the safety. One of those, in any fragrance, you don't have to disclose the ingredients. So they can put all kinds of toxic endocrine disrupting chemicals, and some of them are actually designed to make the product work better, like with fingernail polish and things. And they mask that in the fragrance because they don't have to disclose the chemicals that are in the fragrance. So when they test them, they're finding very, very toxic endocrine disrupting chemicals.
I want to give a shout out at this point again to Black Women for Wellness, who has been doing a lot of work around hair care and beauty products for Black women, and just products generally, and have a complete list of safer alternatives. But Dr. Parks, so what are people to do? Of course, we don't want to continue using these products, but what's a solution? What's safe for us? I know I spoke about Black Women for Wellness. Someone in the near future is going to be coming on, their executive director, Jan Robinson Flint, to give us some of their solutions. But right now, what do you recommend?
Right now, I would, it's very difficult because these are habits, and we have certain ways that we do our hair and everything else. But I think that we back off of using them, and we need to create our own. This was like, it goes in every area. If we don't do for ourselves, it's a war. So we have to be the ones that are testing. There are natural fibers that are used. There are different ways to do this, and there's different ways to test and make sure that the product is at least safer, and then incrementally make them safer and safer and safer as we figure out different ways of doing this. So obviously, natural fibers, natural hair are going to be options, and generally, it is also a cumulative effect. So we want to look at all of the products that come into contact with our skin, or any that we're inhaling, such as candles or Glade or whatever that is, and reduce our overall exposure. So I think that reducing the exposure, like if you have to do your nails, there are some nail polishes that are less toxic. And maybe eventually you'll be like some of us who are such nerds that we're like, oh yeah, like I just never worried about how
I gotta hit the keyboards. I gotta keep the keyboard going, but go ahead.
I was one of the oldest of 5 children, and then my brother had Down syndrome. So I just never had time to worry about that kind of thing. But I think that eventually, we are created as problem solvers. And so we can find and use and then create our own solutions. And I think this is where, we are to be ourselves. And for someone, this is a passion. And so part of that passion, hopefully, is finding safer or creating safer alternatives.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
Thank
you. And if I could say, Dr. Parks, I really resonated with some of the things you said in your article. But I wanted to start off by reading a quote from Sister Ava. So she says, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that in the hereafter, we would have unlimited progress. He also said that his followers already are in the hereafter. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has said to us, some of you will be in the hereafter and not even know it. And, I just think that when we talk about problem solving, that is so important, that we are in the hereafter now. We have choices, we have options. We're being given this divine wisdom and knowledge. Because when you said how when you were working in the laboratory and you were being exposed to these chemicals and you didn't even know it, here we are struggling to be professionals, right, trying to, and we're being exposed to things that damage our health. I really resonated with that. I know when I came into the nation, there were so many things. I think my baby was, she was about 2 years old. And so maybe breastfeeding was something that I was just kind of introduced to, some of the natural products that most people, we didn't know at the time we could use those natural products. And then you come in the nation and they teaching us in MGT class how to eat to live, and then people like yourself who are, actually in these high scientific fields who are coming to us with consciousness and telling us the truth about, so many things. So that to me is how we're in the hereafter. We're having these solutions, but once upon a time, as young women, we were victimized, like these people with these
right, problems. Totally unaware, and then had no idea why we're infertile, why there's a problem with our children, what is going on, why our health is so bad. And I think one of the reasons that I educate, because we're taught that when we cry out, it's answered, but we have to cry out. So if we don't know there's a problem, we're just going to continue as we're going and not understand why our lives are such a mess. So I think that having an understanding of what the problem is allows us to, first just sit with it, because an answer will come.
Yes, ma'am.
And then move forward into the answer. Because as someone in the scientists, I'm not like a purist. Some people think, oh, well, something has to be perfect. No, growth is incremental, and problems are solved by real people. And you could be that person.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
And you
go ahead.
I just wanted to say, and you played that role in the pandemic because you were a voice of practicality with the, you had those academic credentials that we could point to and say, well, she's a Ph.D. and see, she said this. And so giving people options and giving people knowledge, that was so beautiful. So yes, ma'am.
And I think that's still what I'm doing. In fact, I really feel that that's my calling. I'm doing a lot with natural supplementation and herbs, which, honestly, so today I was looking at red raspberry leaf and I was doing some research on it. And I thought I would just have a waterfall of information about its role in reproductive health. And I could barely find the papers. And then as I found them, I realized they're here. It's just like they're hidden. And I thought, I wonder if this has to do with the fact that, having a baby in a hospital and getting a C-section and all of that generates so much money. Because there were a lot of other herbs that I looked up and I didn't have any problem finding what I was looking for. But this one was really hidden. And of course, it plays a role in helping you to have a healthy baby. And so I was like, So I think that I am still, I mean, I don't want to say still because I really feel it's my calling is to kind of show you what's the truth and what's not, and to validate some of our ancestral knowledge, to validate, better ways of doing things. And I'm hoping tonight to talk about some of the ways that we can prevent viral transmission, because of course, one of the big lies was that the jab was going to prevent people from getting sick, and it was never intended to and never designed to do that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And thank you, Sister Pamela. Before we get to that, then I will bring in Sister Abisayo. She wanted to call in, but this is the more convenient way for her. And she's been in the braiding industry for 30 years plus. And
we've had so many conversations and I didn't even know that.
Oh, yeah. Fabulous designs. Chicago, Benton Harbor, Michigan area. So let's bring in Sister Abisayo. Sister Abisayo.
Assalamu alaikum, ma'am.
Walaikum salam.
How are you, my sisters? I'm so honored to have been allowed to be on this call. Thank you so much, Sister Charlene. How are you both?
We're all good. And Attorney Pamela, Sister Attorney Pamela out of Houston, Texas, is on
yes,
as
ma'am.
well.
Yes, ma'am. Welcome.
Wa alaikum salam, my sister. Yes, ma'am. So, again, thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak. I first like to open up with, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. I just want to say I'm very passionate about this subject. I have been hearing about this news online. Also read the article in the Final Call newspaper. Shout out to Sister Anissa Muhammad, who did an excellent job. And Dr. Parks, you had some lovely, very informative comments about the subject. Like Sister Charlene said, I have been a braider. My mother was a braider. And I don't know, Sister Dr. Parks, if you know my mother, Sister Helen. So all my life, I've worn braids, even before, it was as a popular trend as it is now. I wore braids as a child. I did braids on the side in college. I did them on the side, and I became an entrepreneur in the industry. It would have been 7 years when I closed my shop to go back to school for education, and now I am a teacher. So that is my profession, but I'm always an entrepreneur. Once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur. So this subject matter is really passionate for me because I've braided countless women's hair, and so including been around the product myself, braiding. So it was slightly alarming because it's not the first time that I've heard that. Usually, Dr. Parks, they talk about the products that you use, and then as doing research as a braider, I did learn that over 95% of the products that we buy in the beauty supply stores are not beneficial to Black hair. Matter of fact, they do the opposite. Now, the cancer causing part, excuse me, I have my children in the background. So the cancer causing part is a concern, because you're braiding women's hair, and it's supposed to be an alternative, to the chemicals that we have been using in our hair that have been very harmful throughout the years. So my question would be, and is, as far as when I first heard it, what is the hidden hand of it? Because the products that are used have chemicals as well. That the braiding hair is not real hair. You can't have that option, but most times it is plastic based. And so that is a chemical. There are a lot of things
Here's
that,
the thing, and
okay.
I want to be really clear about this. And this is where I can help to bring some truth to and light to this, because it was Consumer Reports that was really highlighting the fact that these were cancer-causing chemicals. But these chemicals, benzene and toluene, honestly, I'm not really concerned about them causing cancer. I didn't get cancer from like working with them every day. I mean, I'm 54. I lived this long, but I did become infertile, right? So I would say that was overblown, because the people, like even doing the Consumer Reports, I don't think they really understand the chemistry of it as deeply. And these chemicals, the benzene and the toluene, there is good news. They're left over from poor manufacturing processes. So you could have two of the same brand name of hair that come from two different manufacturing plants, and one could be using cheaper methods and have this leftover chemicals on them. Right?
I can agree with
so
that.
it's really going to depend on, and you probably will smell them. Like you'll be like, this isn't as good as the other one, or whatever it is, even if it has the same name on it. And I was saying, when I was talking to Sister Anissa, who did such a wonderful job, that you can actually wash this hair. So what I would do if I were working with it is I would put it in some water with a little bit of ethanol that you buy at the grocery store, or isopropanol, just, maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 tablespoons in a thing of water. And that will pull off this residue that is from the manufacturing process. So once you don't have those toxic chemicals, the benzene and the toluene, the hair becomes significantly less toxic. So the problem is when you have kind of oily, like think of like gasoline, or like benzene and toluene are similar to like gasoline or something. When you have those kind of chemicals, they pull the toxic chemicals out of the plastic. So if you put anything in the hair that's oily, or that is like those chemicals, that is organic, then, and I don't mean that in like the good way, that is a chemical like that, it's going to pull the chemicals out of the hair and in through your skin. And so that's what you want to minimize. Just having the plastic there is okay if you don't have something that's pulling it from the plastic hair into your skin.
That's really refreshing to hear, Dr. Parks. Thank you for that. Throughout the years as a braider, mainly one of the things that you run into are allergies. And so, my braiders who may be on the call or can hear it later, we know that there is also a method where we could soak the hair in apple cider vinegar. And you could tell me your thoughts on that. And that really does release some chemicals, because the water is cloudy and we don't know what exactly it is, but it automatically relieves the hair from that chemical, and then you just kind of hang it to dry overnight, and then you can enjoy your braiding style. It's not used as often, even though I think nowadays it is used more. And I believe that if and when I do clients, I will use that method, or advise them to use it if they're the ones that are purchasing the hair.
Right. And again,
but I'm gonna
even putting a little bit of alcohol in that, even a teaspoon is going to help to solubilize and pull those chemicals out more. Into the water. And you might even do a water with a little ethanol and then the apple cider vinegar, which is going to make it much better. And yeah, you wash that hair, it makes it much safer. And if you have the hair is integrated further down in the braid and not up by the scalp, the less it's in contact with the scalp, then there's almost no worry. Just make sure you don't burn the ends of it and, release the toxic plastic chemicals.
That's another great point, because I'm sorry, Sister Charlene.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay, I was just saying that's a great point, Dr. Parks, because it's trending nowadays. And I would give a shout out to all the young braiders that they are so innovative, that have really caused braids to just be one of the most popular things for Black women today. But they have reintroduced that method that you stated, Dr. Parks, with starting with their own hair and then adding it down the line, and they call it knotless braids. So when you and that's kind of like the rave or the trend right now. So when you hear things that that can be so alarming to some women, the methods that they use now is really protective for protective styling. And
And
some still will choose braids. Some really they're gonna move forward with it. So these methods that we're using, it makes me feel more comfortable, for me myself to use, as well as to use on others.
Well, and you can give your clients options if they want the braid to start further up. Maybe they want to consider a better rated or more expensive natural fiber. Do you know what I mean? So you can give people options and just kind of let them know, or that, this is the concern, or that you're washing the hair or whatever it is. And that's the thing. I'm here to, I'm not here. Like, sometimes people are really over alarmist. And I think in the case of the benzene and the toluene being the hair, it is over alarmist in the sense of the fact that there is something that you can do about it, right? It's not like this, like, oh my gosh, there's nothing you can do. And sometimes, so when I am an alarmist about something, you should be alarmed.
Be alarmed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be
And can I
alarmed.
say one more thing, Sister Charlene? Just about the
Yes.
whole thing in general. Few years have passed since there was a lawsuit on the chemical relaxers that we use, and I think the more that braiding has become popular throughout the years, it has affected that industry. And so a lot of people are starting to let their own natural hair grow. They're starting to use when they're not using braids, they're working with their own hair in its natural state. And I think that is an alarm to companies who have counted on Black hair to be this billion-dollar industry. And so when I looked at the 10 brands that they use, because I'm familiar with many brands of hair, some of those brands are Black brands, and they're not rooted in, we're not the root of the brand, but our names are on the brand and we profit from the brand. So my questions would go further and say, what are they trying to do when it comes down to the dollars? Because I know, one of them is called Magic Fingers, and I was able to meet the lady who she's from New York, and the brand is named, they coined it after her braiding style, and that's her brand of hair. Of course, it has another brand that she's under. I think it's called Shine and Jam or something like that. But it's only dealing with those 10, and I find it funny that some of those brands are Black brands. Even the Expression brand, which was another one, it started in South Africa, where most of them start in China, Korea. They're more Asian.
Right.
This particular one, it started in South Africa. It was sold.
And did you look at the original?
Yeah.
Did you look at the original Consumer Reports article? Because when you looked at the rating, some of them rated quite high. So you have to actually go to the actual report and see.
Right. And I'm still in the middle of research, and I also made a note of that to go to the Consumer Report, even before speaking on it. But because we have this opportunity at this time, I just want to make mention of that as well, because sometimes it's about the dollars.
And I think that that's a really good point. And that's where I'm not the person who's going to say, oh my gosh, do away with all braids or whatever. This is a problem. How can we solve it? I didn't go into organic chemistry to be like, let's get rid of all petrochemicals. It's like, yeah, that's not going to happen tomorrow. So, this is real life. And so I think some people have this idea of this perfect heaven and earth instead of this incremental process where we solve problems and create better things. So the idea is, as a chemist, as a biologist, to work with manufacturers and the thing is to test it and not shut these businesses down. but draw light to a problem. And of course, I personally would, I mean, not splash it on Consumers Report, but you go first to the people if you know there's a problem or whatever, and say, hey, how can we fix this? And you don't know what batches of hair were tested. There's so many things that are unknown. And so, but I think the thing is, there's always room to make things better. And most people, I mean, they want to do the right thing. They want to provide their consumers with a good product.
Thank you. Thank you both, Sister Abisayo. Thank you for your questions, your concern, and calling in. And we have one more question, Dr. Parks, okay, on that. And then we're going to go to the other topic, or more of the endocrine disruptors, and also detoxifying, as well as the respiratory issues you wanted to talk about. Thank you, Sister Abisayo. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much. Wa alaikum salam.
We'll see you soon, I hope. I run into her everywhere.
Yeah, she's a trap. She pumps on the ground for real for Sister Abisayo. This question is from Sister Angelita Muhammad. She has, well, let me put the comment first and then the question. So her comment is, she's read research reporting that radish microgreens pull benzene from the body. In the meantime, eat plenty of good vegetables once a day and fast once a month to detox from these chemicals. And so she has a question as well. Dr. Parks, if these hair care toxins have a cumulative effect, is there a way to measure how toxic one is?
There are some tests, and you would need to go to a natural practitioner. I work with one who's out of Alpharetta, which is in Atlanta, Georgia, who actually, these chemicals are very similar to your hormones. That's why they're endocrine disruptors. And they will actually bind and reformat your DNA and turn on different genes and turn on off genes that they're not supposed to. So you actually have to look in the cell and you have to look at the DNA. So those tests are, they're a little bit more difficult to do. So you have to get to the right practitioner to do them. However, you don't have to necessarily do the test. So once you stop using these products, your blood levels will go down. But the problem is they're stored in your fatty tissues, which will include obviously your fat, your breast tissue, and your ovaries, and even your bone marrow. So this is really a concern, and it's not that simple to get them out. There are other detoxification methods that are far, far easier because they're fat soluble. So the radish microgreens are probably going to have a compound called sulforaphane, which activates the body's natural antioxidant detox pathway. So things that do activate that pathway are going to be really, really helpful in detoxing the body. But these organic, that means fat soluble compounds, are among the hardest to detox. Some methods that have been recommended by practitioners who specialize in this area is, one, replacing your body with really, really healthy phospholipids. So you're probably like, I'm just going to say healthy fats. Really healthy fats can be gotten from eggs. And interestingly enough, most vegetables do not have the kind of phospholipids that we need to replace some of these toxic, to push out the chemicals and put the good stuff in and push the bad stuff out. But what does have them is navy beans. So navy beans are a good source of some of these healthy phospholipids. So that's going to help. But I think we need more than that if we've been using these for a long time. And one of the things that you can do is you can take an extra source of bile. It's called ox bile. It's from, cattle. And another thing called TUDCA. And these two are bile salts. They're like, and what they do is they help to your body to pull out these fat soluble chemicals. And so I've seen research showing that when you use these like right around mealtime, they help to bind these toxic things, and to help your liver actually will try to detox them, and they will put them into your gut. But if you don't have the right bile salts in your gut, they will be reabsorbed in your large intestine. And so you want to solubilize them. You want to complex them with fat soluble compounds, pull them out of the body. So on my VITA site, which is Vaccine Injury Teaching Alliance, I have Dr. Krishna Danaparthy, who specializes in this. And I have a presentation that I did on this as well, to really, I think this is one of the largest issues of our day, to really help you understand this issue and how to detox your body.
Thank you so much, Dr. Parks. And speaking about VITA, Vaccine Injury Teaching Alliance, gosh, help me. How did that come about? And it's just good for me to be able to hear you talk about it and see how far it has come. But talk about its inception.
So, I have, with my research background, I had some questions about the childhood schedule long ago when I was a graduate student in the 90s. And as I became adult and I got I adopted my own children, I was like, what are all of these injections on the childhood schedule and are they all needed? So as I started to do a deeper dive, more and more questions and more concerns came up about these types of injections. And then when the pandemic hit, I knew that that was experimental gene therapy. And I knew that the American public was being lied to. And so I started speaking out. And I met many of the injured, and their stories were horrifying and heartbreaking. And I knew the dangers of these injections because it's what I studied in graduate school. And so you really made a promise to myself and to the mothers and fathers of all of these injured children to do something. The government wasn't going to do something, so I started an alliance of practitioners so we could share information. And we started sharing information with each other. And then I started a website where I could distill and sort of put that information into layman's terms and share it with the public to get them the information they need. So a lot of it is specific to injections, but the truth is that the things that make us susceptible, such as endocrine disruptors and heavy metals and pesticides on our food, all of those things play a role. And what we take into our body plays a role. So right now, some of them are about nutritional healing and what can I eat to help detox my body and make it better. So the front-facing pages, which are all free, give information about injections that every family needs to know. But behind a very small paywall is a ton of health recovery information that gives you information about diabetes, about fats, about cholesterol, about all these basic things, but also about conditions that maybe your doctor doesn't know about, like PANDAS and POTS and autoimmune disease. And so it really deals with this onslaught of chronic illness that we have. And my goal is to bring you truth in a really concrete, digestible way and actionable items. So we have 52 pages of wellness protocols on how to have a healthy family, to raise a healthy family naturally. We have spike detox protocols. And we also have a bunch of information on how to detox from different things. And they're in 5 to 10 minute clips so that with each one labeled appropriately, because if you're a mom and your kid is jumping off the counter, you just don't have a lot of time to watch a 2-hour presentation. We have those too. But to really just give you the tools step by step to building a healthier lifestyle, because your doctor doesn't know. Most of them. We have some great doctors that are coming along, but 95 or more % of them don't know. And so we've got to get this information to the people that need it.
Wow, thank you so much. And tell us a little bit about how we can subscribe. I mean, I know you said it's for a small fee, but I want to really bump up the call to action today, if we will, and ask us to subscribe to the site and spread the word. But go ahead.
Absolutely. And your support is so important. This is for parents of, children who are injured or people who are injured that have lost their job. And so I made it as low as it could be. It's $13 a month or $120 a year. And you are supporting an amazing work. And there's literally thousands and thousands of dollars worth of content there for you to access. And so when you go to the page, there'll be a join button. You hit the button and then you join. And then, you've got your password. You can go and access that content anytime. And when we have upcoming presentations, in fact, on Tuesday, I'm giving one on cancer. And I'm talking about how fasting is important in cancer, that they don't tell you that, and how things like ivermectin and fenbendazole can be helpful. So these new sort of alternative protocols that are being talked about on social media. So I really want you to understand cancer and understand new treatment items. And so if you want, you can join, and then you'll get an email with the Zoom link for that. And if you miss it because your kid is playing soccer that day or whatever it is, it's, within a few days, it's going to be posted on the site for you to access at your convenience. So you don't have to worry that you missed it that night. Now, if you happen to be able to get on, then you can ask questions. So that's the benefit of being on that night, because it is live and I'll be presenting. But we're also bringing on other practitioners. We have someone coming to talk on mold, which is a huge problem for many reasons. And we have someone else coming to talk about how iodine is really essential for our health and what do we need to know about that. So there's so many topics, and all of those stay on the website so you can access them anytime. It's basically like your own university to educate yourself about all of these topics. And that is what's needed, and that's what I'm called to do. And so I'm just trusting that God is going to provide, but your membership makes that happen.
Very small fee. And I love that you said that for the moms who had found themselves out of work and needing help. And especially now, people think that, well, I don't want to say what people think. How about I say, I don't know what people think, and just say, bravo to you. All praise is due to Allah God for you. This is Sister Angelita's reply. Thank you so much for your answer. Yes, praise be to Allah for the Navy bean soup. I know you wanted to talk about also, and make it, I forgot to say it as I usually do, make this your presentation, because it's not a lot of time that we have with you, but I just want you to feel very free to share what you think that we need to know, especially about, as you said, taking care of these infections, respiratory infections, as well as these disruptors.
Right. And yeah, so I do, because I know there's a lot of respiratory stuff going around. I do want to get to that, but I do want to also respond to Sister Angelita's comment about the Navy bean, and just that, God has really brought me that information sometimes in ways that I surprised to find. It's like I've been led to it, like, oh my gosh, this has this phospholipid that's so important. That's amazing. But the same thing happened to me today. I was researching different polyphenols that are great for everything, and they tend to be in herbs and things like this, but they're also in fruits. And as they were listing the different fruits and the different vegetables that these really important health promoting compounds were in, it really looked like a list from Eat to Live. So you had your garlic and your onions and your cabbage and your, lemons and your limes and your apples. And I was going, and so I wasn't surprised, but it was a pleasant finding that, as we know, there's a superior wisdom that was given in that book, and it just continues to be validated by modern science. And so that is always an encouragement to me, as I think it is to a lot of believers.
Dr. Parks, Sister Parks, what is a polyphenol? What does it do? Because it went like this for me, like, whew.
I know there's so much, and like we have short time, so I try not to get too deep in the weeds. It's a particular kind of chemical. It has a particular structure. Mm-hmm. And I would say they're like, at least for these key polyphenols like green tea extract, curcumin, luteolin, they are things that are in herbs like rosemary or oregano or basil, and in some lesser known herbs as well. But these herbs have a lot of them because, like, being a plant is biowarfare. You've got to fend off viruses and plant viruses and bacteria and fungus and everything. So they're very antimicrobial, but many times they're also anti-cancer. And many of them bind and neutralize the spike protein and many different viruses and things like this. And many of them actually are analgesic, so they relieve pain. They turn on the body's natural antioxidant detox pathway. They turn off cancer pathways. So they have a multitude of effects. These are sometimes they're known as flavonoids. Other times they're polyphenols. Or it just depends on the exact structure, what their name is. But again, they're very, very powerful in the body. And I just think that Big Pharma doesn't want you to know that you have a natural pharmacy right at your fingertips if these are grown well in the right conditions.
Teach on that. Someone's giving the greetings.
And we know that garlic is extremely, right? That turns on your body's natural antioxidant detox pathways and extremely antimicrobial. As we segue to respiratory illness, I got something and I threw the book at it. I was on ivermectin, I was nebulizing, and still I had some just like a little bit of wheezing in my chest. And I'm like, I threw the book at all of this. I should be at 100%. And so I do eat a lot of garlic, but I got a concentrated garlic product called Alimax. And it has the allicin, which is the bioactive part of garlic, very, very concentrated. So I took a couple of those for like 2 or 3 days and it knocked it out, because garlic kills everything bad, fungus, bacteria, whatever it is. You don't even have to worry. Garlic's going to get it.
And it tastes great.
That said, you had that wonderful video about how, masks are going to kill you. And really, they're super bad. They're just a cardiovascular nightmare because your body's working really, really hard. But the thing is that we were lied to. I knew right away that masks don't prevent transmission of a virus. They never had that capability. And so it's very frustrating to me to find people are lied to, and they're trying to prevent illness in a loved one who may be immune compromised, and they have really real concerns, yet they were lied to. So what I want to provide is some information about what actually does prevent transmission. And there are many, many things that prevent transmission. But some of the things, and I have videos on this on my website, is like a neti pot or a nebulizer. There are xylitol sprays. You can just go on Amazon and Google xylitol spray. That will prevent bacteria from sticking to the inside of your nasal passages. There's one called Cofix, Cofix, and that line of nasal sprays, these have been clinically shown to prevent transmission of viruses and even bacteria. And that Cofix, they have iodine and vitamin D. And like if you're going to the airport, that is gonna, I would have that with me and use it a couple times, and it's gonna kill whatever's in your sinuses. So a lot of times, especially if you are going to, wash before prayer, one of the things is cleaning out your nose. So I actually use a neti pot. I put saline in there and a couple drops of 2% Lugol's iodine. And that's going to kill viruses, bacteria, fungus, whatever is in your nose. And so that's what I clean my nasal passages with. You can also there you go. There's my website. Beautiful. And you can join and you can see there's information on the childhood schedule, information on the COVID injections, useful resources, a link for our upcoming things. And there's so much information on this website, especially. And so you want to bookmark this to share it with friends and family, especially if someone is expecting and they need to know about the childhood schedule. We know that many people who are fostering kids have no choice, but they can maybe make some tweaks to the schedule that can help their children. But going back to the respiratory, and then once you join, there's a whole section on how to deal with respiratory illnesses. And I show you how to use a neti pot, how to nebulize, dilute hydrogen peroxide or dilute iodine. And one of the things that I found as I dealt with respiratory illness during this last 3 years that I'd never done before is I started nebulizing. I started nebulizing saline solution with just a little bit of hydrogen peroxide or a little bit of iodine. And it was a game changer in terms of because you want to reduce the amount of virus or bacteria that's replicating in your nose and throat and lungs. And it really shortened the time that I was ill. So so you can sign up and then once you join, I know that you probably have a sign in. You could probably show us the pages behind there. And so all of these different resources are going to be there. But what I was going to say is actually green tea. So green tea is extremely antiviral and it kills like 95 to 99%. And so is black tea is actually good too, of viruses. So you could actually my neti pot comes with these little packets of salt, and then you put the salt in, and then I just put the green tea on top of the salt to, solubilize it and maybe add a little extra distilled water. And I rinse my nose with green tea, especially if I think I've been exposed to something or somebody I know is ill. And that green tea will this very, very antiviral. It will bind all kinds of manner of garbage and protect you. So the message is generally, and again, you can find a lot more information on my website, that there are so many different ways to protect yourself. I do want to mention this is the time of lowest vitamin D. So if you're up here in Michigan, where it is still cold, you want to make sure that you have a good source of vitamin D, a cod liver oil, or, at this point, even just get something from the store, and then you can go to my website and find what are the brand names I recommend. But and magnesium, because you actually need magnesium to activate vitamin D, a good magnesium glycinate. And this is where you can work with your healthcare practitioner to test your levels. Most people are magnesium deficient, vitamin D deficient, iodine deficient. So those are some things that you want to make sure you're sufficient in to make sure that your immune system is as supported as you can. There are all sorts of issues with your gut that are going to make you more likely to get a severe respiratory infection. And I talk about those on my website, and I specifically talk about those with regard to spike detox. So there's a lot going on that people maybe don't know about. And so that's information that could be really, really helpful for you, especially if you found yourself getting really ill lately, where in the past it really wasn't an issue for you, because there's some circumstances going on right now, and I don't want to get your website, your streaming pulled, that we really need to pay attention to our health. And so again, as I said, when I do sound the alarm, I'm very, very serious about it. So I think stewarding our health is the most important thing we can do right now.
Thank you. Maybe we could set up a Zoom session, a private Zoom session, a Q&A with that. You can present that, because we definitely need to know. There's a lot going on. My little granddaughter had a little cough, and it lasted a couple of weeks, and I was surprised. But it was getting better, but it was still lingering, because it just knocks out of her. It doesn't stay long.
This is lingering. I had a friend's child over just today, and I got that Atty Max. It comes in one for children that's like liquid drops. And I said, can I give him some of this? Because this is what worked for me. So it's nice to have safe options. And on Vita, it shows you how to deal with a fever, all of these different options that are more natural, and how to heal the gut. And that's going to be one of the big things in helping to prevent respiratory infection.
Wonderful. So we have about 4 minutes with you, and then I'll do announcements, everyone. But I have a call to action coming from our last week's presentation with, or week before last, with Brother Abdul Qiyam Muhammad. But Dr. Christina Parks, any call to action? I have one: join Vita, subscribe, sign up. I'll put that back up. But any thing that you would like to ask of the viewing audience?
Yes, I do. Go wherever you buy your, your supplements, get some powdered vitamin C, have it in your house. Go buy a nebulizer, have it in your house. Go buy either some Lugol's iodine or some food grade hydrogen peroxide and have it in your house, because we don't know what the next thing they're going to be, is going to be released or we're going to be dealing with. And so I can't tell you how many times I get called to help people out, and they really don't have anything to work with. Someone is relatively ill, and I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on supplements and given them away because other people are unprepared. So start preparing yourself. And again, on my website, I have I even have presentations where I have the products, pictures of the products so that you know what to buy and everything else. And I would say buying a nebulizer changed my life when I had respiratory illness. And then my ex-husband started using it. And so I'm like, get your own. So, because we share our daughter together. So if one of us gets sick, all of us are going to end up sick, right? So I'm like, we can't be driving back and forth with the nebulizer. So he ended up buying his own. But and he did that because it made such a difference for him too. So buy yourself a nebulizer. Learn what you need to do to make sure you know how to protect you and your family. The time when you're ill is not the time to try to figure it out.
And this is what we do, isn't it? Like one person has it and you're driving 2 hours across town to give somebody something, you know. It's like and we always think, you know, in the future it'll be okay, but I needed to walk the walk, so I made sure I had all of those things, and there's some key things that you need to make sure your family has too.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You know, I love you, love you, love you. Thank you for your questions and comments for her viewing audience. And Dr. Parks, I know you have to take leave. We look forward to having you back on Liberated Sisters. And I thank Allah God for the day that I met you through Minister Ava Muhammad, and for the work that we have been doing and had been doing through her efforts and the efforts of the team along with her, the Nation of Islam Research Group. So thank you, Dr. Parks.
And thank you. May God be praised for each one that has lifted up this mission and allowed us each to take it to the next step.
Yes, ma'am. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, ma'am.
Everyone, I want to show it again. Join the Vaccine Injury Teaching Alliance. Oh, wow. I'm sorry. I didn't see this, Sister Angelita, for her before she took leave. Let's see. I live with B-A... Now I'm spelling it like a child is around. So, since she's already gone, I would tell you for her, that's a yes, because that's what she has, you know, to do those things. You can get the information at the Vaccine Injury Treatment Alliance, Vaccine Injury Teaching Alliance. And again, I subscribe. I think my amount, she doesn't really talk money, you know, because she doesn't put a price on the passion and the love that she has for doing this. I mean, again, after all, I'm just going to say what I recall. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan made a call during the Swan Song. I'm sorry, not the Swan Song, but it was 2020, the Criterion, you know, but he called as this was all developing and as this pestilence from heaven, as we know it has become, or it was, as he told us, you know, he put a call for our doctors, our scientists, our biologists, our epidemiologists to come and to look at, not only look at what we were being given, but also to develop something for ourselves. And Dr. Parks is one who answered the call in a chief way. And again, I just love how Minister Ava introduced her to me on the text, like a preeminent, right? And I just bear witness to it all. And also just a beautiful, beautiful sister who cares. She doesn't just care about Black people. She doesn't care about race, ethnicity. She cares about all people, but she also knows that we are suffering the greatest. And so this, for what her subscription price is on her website, it's just pennies. You know, I always look at the site and say, how can you keep it going? But as she said, you know, she knows that God provides. So Angelita, yes, without a doubt, do that. And so thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Sister Colson, Brother Hoyle, Miss Brenda Lee Gertman, all of you all. Thank you so much. I do want to also share from last week. You know, Brother Abdul Kiam Muhammad and I had a presentation, of course, the sister attorney Pamela Muhammad as well. And at that time, Brother Abdul Kiam gave us a beautiful report back, as then it always does, no matter whose presentation, broadcast he's speaking on, he's writing on his own blog, he comes 100% beyond every time. And so this that I'm about to show is just our closing segment. I said last week, but I meant week before last, because last week was our brother Rasul's janazah. So this was regarding the 2025 Savior's Day message. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's National Assistant Student Minister Ismail Muhammad knocked it way out of the galaxy. And so we're on a drive to continue to spread that. We're on a push. And so if you would hang with us, I want to play some of that from last week with Brother Abdul Kiam. So let me get rid of some things. Subscribe to finalcall.com. We didn't go through the whole paper. Let's see. But it's there. You can read the entire thing. Okay. I have it here. I want to share it. Here it comes. Okay, let's see. Okay, one more thing, and we'll play this.
And when Biden won, remember when the minister said in Trump's first, he said he was the last president. Remember when the minister said in Trump's first term in office, he said he was the last president. Then when Biden won, I thought the minister said Trump was going to be, hey, slow your roll. See, we don't see the future. You remember when the minister said, President Trump is an anomaly. Someone that doesn't fit the norm. And we all, man, I never seen us react. Brother Leonard, we just, oh my God. Oh, Trump. We're the people of God. We're supposed to do this. The Lord's will be done. All things work together for good for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. The Quran says you may like a thing that is not good for you, and you may dislike a thing that is good for you. There has to be a Pharaoh that negotiates your and my deliverance. There has to be a Pharaoh that sees the power of God. Oh. The scripture says to Pharaoh, for this very purpose I have raised you up, that I might show you my power, that my name may be proclaimed in all the earth. Trump is not like the other presidents. And he's certainly not like us. But people wanted, the minister said, Mr. Trump in his first term to be more presidential. But he's so transparent. You wanted him to put on a suit and act dignified, like the thieves and robbers that dress up in suits and tells lies. We like that. You wanted him to be like that, and he's telling lies, all right? And you're angry because he's your reflection. He's an anomaly. You can't make him what you desire him to be, so that you can say, that's my president. He wasn't made that way. God has him here. What did you say, Farrakhan? Do you think that God is not interested in who is president of the United States of America, especially when it is out of the time of evil? Why did God permit this man to return to the White House? He prevailed against all the oppositions and forces to keep him from becoming president. We went to the polls. We did everything. So after all that effort, God said he's going to be president. He survived an assassination attempt from an assassin's bullet that could have very well killed him. But it grazed the ear. Of all the points of the face and head, why the ear? Could it be, Mr. President, that death is in the house? Death is what approaches, and God wants you, Mr. President, to listen. You are in the position to help America escape the wrath of God. We're about to bring this to a conclusion. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote years ago, speaking to this last election, that it was the most serious in the history of the American government, because either party that seeks the office of presidency is faced with the problem of saving the lives of the people of America. And then he said there would be a lull before the storm. And the storm can be delayed, and every hour and day that it can be delayed is to your benefit. Mr. Trump, you acknowledged God at a recent prayer breakfast. God is on your mind, Mr. President. You said after your near-death experience that someone told you God saved your life for a reason. And you may think that God spared your life to make America great again. But we say humbly to our president, you can never make America great without bowing to and submitting to the God, Allahu Akbar, God the Great, God the Great, God the Greatest.
Period, point blank.
Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar, brother Abdul Qiyam. Yeah.
Praise to Allah. Wow.
I don't have a lot to say. I don't have a lot to ask of you except, pardon the slang, but as they say, how people say, how can I be that? What is the call to action to spread this word? I mean, you know, I can do more. I can do more.
Absolutely. Dear brothers and sisters, listeners, look, just from those short clips, if that was your first time watching that message, we tell you, hurry, quickly, after we get off this broadcast, go and watch it in full, part 1 and part 2 at media.noi.org. All of us that have watched it, I don't know about you all, but I haven't let a day go by in the last 2 weeks without studying and parsing aspects of that message. As we've been making the clips and posting them, we have to keep feeding on this word and not have a short attention span and get distracted by all the things that are pulling on us and are being thrown at us online. We got to stay focused on this message. And then at the end of the message, Student Minister Ishmael made a call to action and appeal to all of us. He said, since we love being on social media, he said, let's take pieces of the message and put it out there and create the conversation. And I can tell you all personally, humbly, from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he wants and desires for us to spread this message as far and as wide as possible. So what can you do? Number 1, take the links to the full message. We got it on media.noi.org. We got it on Rumble. Many people have posted it on YouTube. We got it. The full messages were streamed on the minister's Twitter account. It's actually on the NOI Twitter account, you know, those that call it X. The full streams are up there. Also on NOI Facebook page, the full stream is there. You see these clips, we have nearly put out almost over probably 75 clips just in the last 2 weeks. All you got to do is go and click that retweet button. All you have to do on Facebook is click the share button. And if you're on Instagram, come on, young soldiers, you see all the clips we're posting, all you have to do is repost it on your IG story and then also on your feed so the people can read it, because this message is serious. So the call to action is be a part of the scatterers that the Holy Quran talks about. Scatter the broadcast of Savior's Day 2025 and as far as possible. And just to let you all know, as of March the 11th, 2 days ago, we did just a brief scan of the clips, the full messages, and looked at the analytics of the views. Just with the limited involvement we have had so far, Sister Charlene, we have reached nearly 600,000 views on multiple platforms by the grace of Allah. That includes the full video and that includes the clips. Now imagine if you, yes you, with your following, with your pages, with your platform, if you took 30 seconds out of every day just to reshare, retweet, repost, how many more views will we get and eyes around the world and the country for this message for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan through Student Minister Ishmael Muhammad? So we want you to get involved, watch it, parse it, study, and share. Let's get to work, because I'm definitely going to keep on doing it, because we got to be about our Father's business. And this word deserves to be in the hands of every human being on our planet, because Brother Ishmael said it right. We all have fallen short of the glory of God, and we all need this message today. And the last thing I'll read, Sister Charlene, if I may, one person said this. Oh, man, I had it right in front of me. See, I got so fired up now, the papers are moving on me now.
You've been too close to me. It's there. Take your time. It's right there.
Yes. A message to all of humanity from the servant of God through his assistant. That is truly a wake-up message to us all, that we got steps to take for true repentance or else suffer more loss and severe chastisement. Another person said, I have been wondering why everything is happening the way it is today. I got all the answers I need through this message. I saw a clip on Facebook and went to watch the whole thing. This is just what I needed. All praises due to Allah. So you never know, by you resharing on your pages, you have no idea who you may reach who needs clarity in this time of confusion. So that's the call to action. Join us on the digital battlefield and spread this word and be one of the scatterers.
I was being scatterer. Praise be to Allah. Brother Abdul Kim, I was scared. Let's be a scatterer. Thank you, Brother Abdul Kiam, for being our guest last week. And that's part of our call to action. Again, subscribe to BETA, the Vaccine Injury Teaching Alliance. And also, I would like to say in honor of my friend Shirley Shepard, who will be coming with us for a segment coming up, God willing, next week, which is going to be called First Time Guest, because when Shirley attended the mosque, and many of us who were first-time guests, and those who are still, some who came through the doors and maybe never came back, I don't know, but the testimonies are very interesting and exciting, and I love to hear about them. And what Shirley shared just stuck to me like glue. And one of the things she shared was that the Muslim program on the back of the Final Call newspaper, what the Muslims want, what the Muslims believe. I was looking for it at my laboratory table here. Really summed up everything as she sat at mosque number 27 and listened to student minister Abdul Malik Saeed Muhammad, who is the Nation of Islam's Western region representative. she's, just had all of these different questions, but she also was very highly enlightened, she said, and realized that she had been lied to. And so about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the nation, what we want and believe and what we think. And so this is for you, Shirley. It's an annotated study of the Muslim program. It is by our student minister, Demetric Muhammad, who is a student minister at in Memphis, as well as he's at Mosque number 55, as well as he's a member of the Nation of Islam research group and an avid author, many, many books. So theresearchminister.com. You can get this if you want to know more about the Muslim program, but it's right at the back page of the Final Call newspaper. And Brother even went deeper into it. So thank you, Brother Demetric. Shirley, I got your gift when you come on. So God willing, next week she will be here as a guest to talk about her experience as a first-time guest. And so if you are a first-time guest yourself and would like to share that, come on the air. Brothers and sisters who are in the ranks, followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, under the guidance and leadership and the careful, loving arms of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, let me know. Bring your guest on to the show. Share the remarks that they may share about their experience at a Muhammad Mosque or study group, or they may have heard a lecture such as Savior's Day by student minister Ishmael Muhammad for Minister Farrakhan, whatever the interaction is on a Sunday. And the hashtag is NOI Sundays to see what's happening across the nation on any given Sunday. So everyone, that's it. I'm a little full, I got to be honest. We love you, Minister Ava. Thank you so much for paving a way for me as a sister in terms of how to better serve and to be a help in this mission of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and to help the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who is the last man standing in this mission. And so everyone, Ramadan Mubarak, blessed Ramadan. My prayers are for each and every one of you within earshot and who are viewing. And thank you to our guests, Dr. Christina Parks, Sister Dr. Christina Parks, Sister Attorney Pamela Muhammad. Thank you, Sister Abisayo Muhammad, for coming on to give your questions, concerns, and comments about what's happening with the reports about braiding hair. And then also to Brother Abdul Qiyam. And so that's it. I'm Sister Charlene Muhammad saying, if it's impacting our community or can uplift us as a people, let's talk about it. Spread the word. Assalamu alaikum.